Not only am I a member of LiveJasmin, but I was a model on LiveJasmin. So, I have four unique things that Ophelia thought would be interesting. Number one, I'm an immigrant. Number two, I'm a veteran of 30 years in the Marine Corps. Three, I have PTSD. Four, not only am I a member, but I'm also a model on 6 different platforms. Yeah. So
Incredible. Oh my goodness. I am so happy to interview you. I cannot wait to discuss all of that.
the reason I became a cam model was after I fully retired on Halloween in 2014, my wife of 32 years and I decided we'd like to become a cam model couple. So before we could make that come to fruition, she died from pneumococcal pneumonia and the complications to remove 2 lobes of her right lung. So to honor her memory and our dream, I became a cam model on June 1st of 2016. My very first night online, I was nervous as hell.
Hmm.
So I looked around at some of the other models online and I found this lovely young lady, LittleRedBunny, soon later to know her name as Ophelia Marcos. And she was in New York City, New York. And I said, aha, an American. So I won't have any trouble speaking to her. And for some unknown reason, she took me underneath her wing. Now she runs in a model academy and she can charge up to $100 an hour for her advice and counsel. But she gave me all her advice and counsel for free. And she's been my mentor and advisor and counselor now for 6 years and 4 months. So when she asked me to do this interview, I was more than willing to help the queen.
Oh, I love that. That's sweet.
So now that I've told you who I am, go ahead and ask your questions of me and see if I can answer them honestly.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for giving us your time today. I'm more than thrilled to interview you and I'm honored. And also thank you for your service.
It was my way to give back what I earned becoming a citizen of this great country.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
I served in 2 wars, 20 years apart. Vietnam War, 70 to 71. I left in August to leave for Vietnam. And 20 years later, in August of 1990, I left for the Persian Gulf for the first Gulf War or Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So that was like unique. 20 years apart, same month.
Wow. Wow. Let's start with your journey being a cam model. So you and your wife had wanted to be a couple on LiveJasmin.
Yes, that's where we wanted to start at the beginning because it was a premium website, but I wanted to start out. So I looked at all the different websites out there that are premium sites, and LiveJasmin looked the most premium in my mind.
I agree. I agree. Were you and your wife members of LiveJasmin or?
We were members before we became more before I became a model. Yes.
And I would love to know a little bit more about that experience of being members with your partner. What are some of the top benefits that that brought to your relationship?
Well, we would look at the female models. We would look at the couple models. We didn't really look at any of the male models because I'm straight. Okay, but my my room is open to anybody. I don't judge. It's not my right to judge. And so we watched and we looked around and we liked chatting with the models. Okay, but since it was nothing nude in public free chat, we got to understand what they did, why they did it. Now, different ladies had different purposes of being a model, of course. Some was, strictly all about the money. They didn't interact with their members really at all. And all they were interested in after, 2 sentences of chat was, how about, what do you want to do? It was all about gimme, 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 gimme. And that turned me off. Okay. So I looked around for the models that like the best one out there, and she greets everybody, is Ophelia. Doesn't matter who you are, when you come to her room, she makes an effort to say hello to you and welcome you to her room. And I loved that about her. So pretty much me and my wife stuck around watching her.
So, would you say that being a couple on LiveJasmin as a member, like did you feel like that brought spice into the relationship? Do you feel like it made you and your partner, your wife, closer, or what
Yes,
were some of the benefits?
yes. Well, you know, once you get past, once you realize that you're doing something of an intimate nature in a private show on webcam, if you get past that, oh, okay, and just react with each other as you normally do, soon the camera shyness disappears real easy. Okay. Now, I and my wife never had a chance to do that, but we recorded ourselves many times using our webcam just so we could watch it later to see what it looked like, and we would critique ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so by the time we were getting ready to start before she died, I think we were ready to be a good couple. That was just my personal opinion.
So you feel like LiveJasmin, being a member and eventually working towards being a couple as models, that brought you guys closer together.
Oh yeah, yes it did. Yeah, it did. Uh, in America, uh, physical intimacy is a lot more prudish, if I could use that word. Okay, where I grew up in Germany, you know, no big deal. Okay, European countries are a lot more open with physical intimacy than they are here in the United States, and I guess that's because of what I like to refer to as the Heinz 57 ketchup of international customs and so forth. The people that live here, not just only born here, but the immigrants here. So they bring all those different cultures and mix them together. So America has grown with its own Puritan style of you know, I don't know what the best word to use.
Yeah, we can be a little prudish. I think you used a good word earlier. Yeah.
In fact, I remember one time when me and my wife were making love, we always taught our children if a door is closed, assume somebody's in the room, knock and request permission to go in. Okay. And my oldest daughter, I can remember the look on her face even to this day. She just walked in the door, and my wife and I just stopped, covered ourselves up, and she's sitting there as red as a beet as your ribbon around your neck. Okay. So we got dressed and went into the kitchen, sat down at the kitchen table and explained to her. And I said, okay, it's time. So I had two films. I had one from my foster father, who was a medical doctor, about the human species reproduction. And I also had a pornographic video. Okay. So I sat her down, I let her watch both of them, and I explained this one is why humans get together for human species reproduction. This is the enjoyment factor of it. Okay. So that I grew up my kids not being scared to ask mom and dad about sexual things. So,
That's incredible. That's incredible.
and all seven of my children grew up the same way. Most people tell me when they see me online, they say, you're 75? No way. They all argue with me.
I love that.
Well, what's your honest opinion?
No, you do not look 75 at all.
Okay. In fact, I told my girlfriend, I said, it's funny, I started in 2016 at age 69, and instead of going forward to age 75, I've aged backwards. I feel more like 63.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Yeah.
And that's another thing that LiveJasmin and the other sites have, given me, was that feeling of youthfulness again.
Oh, I love that. How did LiveJasmin make you feel youthful again?
Just the interaction. You
Yeah.
know, look at how many people you can talk with in a 4 hour period. Where could you find to be able to do that in your hometown?
So
Now,
true.
you know, look at all the different people, their backgrounds, their color, their creed, their race, their ethnicity, you know, their sexual orientation. You know, you run into everybody. If you haven't noticed, this is my real doll, and the measurements of her and the face. I sent in the measurements of my wife and a photograph of my wife, and she's an exact replica of my deceased wife.
Wow.
She's with me all the time on webcam. I don't do anything with her, but she's there with me. Okay.
That's so sweet. Yeah.
So it's kind of like having my wife with me.
Yes. You mentioned earlier, that you're a two-time war veteran.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
a military veteran and you have experienced PTSD.
Oh yeah, bad. Very bad. In fact, I really did not know, and I credit my third wife for sticking with me because PTSD can break marriages up real quickly.
Right.
A couple of years ago, no, what was it? It was back about 2013 that I decided to go to the Veterans Administration, and I got into a group. The psychologist who was running the group was a former combat vet that went on and got his, PhD, and everybody's sitting around the group and talking about their experiences. You got to learn that you're not alone in what you feel and how you feel, and that helped me greatly. It's kind of like a teapot sitting on the stove. If you don't have a valve to let the steam out, it just sits there and grows and grows and grows until it explodes, and you don't want that to happen. And being able to talk about it uh, relieves the stress.
Yeah.
Now I still have symptoms when I go to like a restaurant or something. I sit in the back corner with my back to the wall so I can have a clear field of fire, as we used to call it. You know, I like to be able to control everything in my surroundings. So I'm kind of a homebody. I don't go out much except for small things, you know. So
I
in that way, I'm still, got some PTSD. I don't like to. I interact online a lot easier than I do interacting in person.
Yeah, that's understandable. And I was gonna say I can see how having these connections on LiveJasmin and having especially this connection and relationship with Little Red Bunny is probably very helpful if you feel more comfortable being home. And you mentioned just kind of knowing that you're not alone.
Yeah, having finding out that the other veterans out there that are combat veterans, and even those that some aren't combat veterans, that have had a traumatic experience. But PTSD for a combat vet is different than a civilian. Back in World War I, they called it shell shock. That really drove home what it was. By the time Korea rolled around, World War II rolled around, it was called uh, uh, battle fatigue. Then Korea came around, they called it delayed stress syndrome. And then they softened and euthanized it even further by calling it post traumatic stress disorder. So it is different, the type of shell shock you get in war, than it is if you uh, uh, have a traumatic experience of somebody in a family member die. That also can cause post traumatic stress disorder. But they're the same name, but they're two different, very different animals, if I could use that term.
Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense. I'm curious, like, for even just taking your experience, um, do you feel like your time on LiveJasmin and your relationships there have helped you maybe navigate that?
Yes, very much so. Like I said, it's easier for me to interact online using video like this, like we're doing, than it is, I have to really get comfortable with somebody before I would want to meet them in person. Okay. Because it is a different, I'm trying to find the word, it's a different environment doing it virtually like this than physically in real life. So over the last 6 years plus, I have opened up more. So when I'm out in town, I'm not as, aloof, okay, quiet. I'll actually greet people and I'll say hi. Okay, they say hi to me, I'll say hi back. Where before my friends used to refer to me as stone face. They said if I ever smiled, my face would crack. Okay, and that's the way I was when I came back from Vietnam. I was a Marine Corps drill instructor, and I was very, very stern because I knew that 99% of the people I was putting through recruit training were going to go where I just came from. So I was not their friend. I was not there to be their friend. I was there to prepare them. Well, that carried on through my life all the way through. And LiveJasmin and other sites, but especially LiveJasmin, where I started, softened that over my last 6 years.
That's so incredible. I was going to ask you, what do you think kind of caused you to soften or open up?
The interaction like you and I are having now, okay, the actual interest, okay.
What it sounds like LiveJasmin has really given you is, first of all, the interaction that you needed and that you said kind of helped open you up after being through 2 wars. And honestly, I'm not kidding when I think about the fact that this service has been able to provide something like that for another human being who served our country. I honestly could burst into tears. But in addition to that, you have these 2 incredible relationships, it sounds like, with Ophelia, who you see as a mentor and a friend. And she's actually the reason that you're here doing this interview. And then you have developed a romantic relationship and with a model.
She's with me right now in text on Skype, as I can see the text come up if she says something to me, but just knowing she's with me,
yeah,
is moral support.
yeah, moral support. That's what it was. And I think, like, I know in my life, one of the greatest feelings is to know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
That's like literally sometimes if I'm going through something and someone just tells me that you're not alone, it brings so much relief. And it sounds like LiveJasmin has given you the sense that you're not alone.
Yeah. And look at LiveJasmin. It touches almost, except for the countries, I'm not sure what countries it's not allowed in, all the countries throughout the world that LiveJasmin's in. Okay. And those models who can't afford to have a home studio, work at a studio, but work on LiveJasmin, look at all those different backgrounds that you have a chance to run into and meet and talk with. Okay. So LiveJasmin is, I would say, an international ambassador, for lack of a better term.
That's beautiful. I want to ask you, I love ending the interviews with one final question, which is just, what's something in your life you're the most grateful for right now?
My friendship with Ophelia and my friendship with Rebecca.
Both brought to you in part by LiveJasmin. I love it.
Yep. Two models in my life that are not only models, but I consider them friends. So thank you for allowing me to have this interview. You are a very good interviewer.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's the one thing that Ophelia told me. She said, you're going to enjoy Thai.
Oh, that makes me happy. Bye.
Bye-bye.